Hello friends, this is Carrie with Stampiphany.com, a great Stampin' idea. Today we're going to make an adorable little adventure popcorn box, and this is the box that I made. I made it out of Kraft cardstock as the base. All the rest of the supplies will be listed in the description box below. I just thought this was so cute. When you pull out the treat, it's actually a s'more trail mix. I got this recipe online somewhere. Really easy to make. So let's get started. The popcorn box framelit set is what I used to make the box, and I just used this piece right here. Just pull this off. Now what you'll need to make the box is you actually need two pieces, and so you hear two pieces of Kraft cardstock. It cuts and scores it for you. Now I will say the score marks are a little bit light, but if you make sure that you crease them before you start putting your box together, it does make it a lot easier. Now with the box, as you go around, the green part was a little bit of a challenge, not a huge challenge, but I wanted to make sure that it wrapped around the box correctly. So I want to show you how I did that. The first thing that you do is take a piece of scrap. This is Wild Wasabi, and I don't really care about the top. I just want to get the bulk of it right here. We don't really need the tabs on the bottom or even the side. I just really need that shape. So we're going to run it through the Big Shot, and we're going to cut it with the popcorn box die cut first. And what that does is that gives us the base to work for. So now I know whatever I do next, it will wrap around my box correctly and not, fold weird or get wrinkled weird. The next thing you want to do is take the line of trees that is in the outdoor adventure framelits. I think it's always adventure, outdoor adventure. It'll be listed below. I apologize. All these names are floating in my head. But I'm going to measure up 1.5 inches with my ruler. And the reason I'm doing that is I want to make sure that I have enough green space to cover the amount of the box that I want. So we have the mountains and this. So then we're going to take our tree line, kind of line it up across there, and then we'll just run it through my Big Shot just like we did with the box template. And this will just cut those nice little trees, and we'll have a nice piece that'll fit perfectly on our box. We just have a few more things to do to, I guess. Well, one more thing to do to it. We have to cut the tabs off, and I'll show you that in just a minute. And just as a reminder, or we'll need two basically to go on your box. So now I need to cut these tabs off because I don't need them. So I'm just going to take my scissors and trim both of those off. You'll notice that running it through the Big Shot with the popcorn framelit, it left kind of like an embossed look to it. I kind of liked it, so it didn't bother me that that was on there. So I kind of felt it added to the box actually. So what you want to do is take them and fold it. I folded it up first and then back. With this crease that the popcorn box does, it seems easier when you want it to crease to fold it valley side first, but you can test it and see what works best for you. So now that I have both my pieces ready, it's time to start building my box. And like I said earlier, it makes it a whole lot easier to put your box together if you go around and crease all of your scored lines first. I think that's pretty true for any box that you make. It just makes it easier, I think, to put tabs where they need to go and shape the box the way it needs to be shaped. And make sure you fold those little tabs on the bottom. That will really be important later when we go to assemble the bottom of our box and make sure it closes correctly. So I'm just going around, finishing up, doing both my pieces there. And now we're going to put some tear tape or score tape. I'm using 1/8 inch score tape. You can use 1/4 inch. 1/4 inch is just a smidgy too wide, but you can always roll it back onto the box. Stampin' Up! Has a great video on how to put this box together as well, and I'll make sure I link that in the description box below. It's always nice to see how something's put together more than once. You always get tips in both directions that help you know. So we're going to peel this off, and what you want to do is line this straight edge here over the score tab, or the little tab. So I'm a righty, so it's easier for me to turn it upside down and do it. But I'm going to line up the corner at the bottom there where my thumb is, and just try to line up that edge of that box with the score line. Now you want to make sure you don't go over the score line or your box won't fold correctly. Just go up to the score line. Once you have it the way you want it, you just take your bone folder and burnish that so it sticks really good. And the easiest way to get this next step done is just to fold that one side over and then just basically close the box like a book. And that should line up. If you did your first step correct, this should line up perfectly. Now the bottom may look a little tricky, but it's actually not too bad. When I did it the first couple times, it was almost one of those I'll close one eye and hope it works out. But actually it's really easy. So I'm going to put some more score tape on that little tab that we folded over. And you want to make sure you do both tabs on the underside. Make sure you don't do it on the outside, but whatever side's going to end up being on the inside of the box. Once you have both of those done, burnish them a little bit. Make sure that they're good and stuck on that Kraft cardstock. And then you're going to fold the two side tabs in that look like that. And then you're going to take your score tape off. And this is where I wanted to close one eye, but trust me, it does work. And the video I link from Stampin' Up, she does the same thing, and it was really great. You're going to fold back those two little small tabs, find out which way your box folds the easiest, where it'll fold flat, and you're just going to push your fingers through and just start to fold that box flat again. But when you do so, those tabs stick, and then watch the magic happen. Boom, there's the bottom. Looks so good. I don't know why it makes me excited every time I see it work. I don't know. It just does. Simple pleasures, my friends. Anyway, now that that's put together, we are ready to start putting on the decor on the outside. Now I've die cut these two mountains from the die set, the adventure set that comes with this as well. It comes with the tree line and this mountain set and a bunch of other stuff that's really cool. I'm putting a lot of snail on there because I really want to make sure that this sticks on the side of my box. And I'm taking my mountains and I'm putting them up about 1.5 inches from the bottom of the box. And that's where the tree line, when we measured it earlier to die cut it, that's why it's so important. So I'm going to just stick this on here. And I did find that sticking the bone folder inside of the box and burnishing it and then scoring those mountains right along the corner of that box, because we have to fold it around the box, and so I felt it was easier to score it and then start to fold it around. Just kind of pinch it, be gentle, but just work it around the box, because that little piece right there, as you saw, it'll want to like go its own way, but just keep working at it and it should work out just fine. And the next step, that little last corner, you can either choose to score it or you can choose to just trim it off. It doesn't really matter. It's whatever you want to do. I think I chose to trim it off at one point. So that's what I did with mine. So you're just going to repeat that process with the next set of mountains. And that's so the mountains will go all the way around your little popcorn box. These mountains also have snow cap. It has a little snow cap die cut that comes with it, and we'll talk about that a little later. Right now I'm just matching up those little corners, doing the same thing. I'm going to try to get that to wrap around by scoring it along the edge, and then here's where it just gets a little tricky again, where you just kind of pinch it and then make sure that you get it as straight as you possibly can going around. Now, the trees are going to cover most of the bottom of these mountains, so it's really kind of forgiving. So I wouldn't stress completely over it. Just, get it as straight as you can and it's good to go. So you'll cover up most of what the bottom looks like. So once you have that pinched and all the way around the box, it looks kind of weird right now, and that's because those mountains are kind of floating up in air, but they'll get grounded in a little bit when we put our trees around it. The next thing that you'll want to do, as you see, I've got my trees out, and then I realized, before I put my trees on, I probably should really put my snow caps. Now, the set does come with a framelit that you can cut snow caps out, but there's a lot of snow caps with this one. If I was just doing a card in one mountain range, I probably would have used it. But I felt it would be easier just to cut out 2 white sets of mountains and then just hand cut little snow caps and just randomly cut off the little edges. I just felt that was faster. You can do, of course, whatever you want to do. You could even just take a white gel pen and color the top. Whatever trips your fancy is all good. But that's all I did, was I just took the snow caps off and just trimmed them off a mountain range, just like that. If you're not comfortable doing that, you could also take an edgelet that's kind of wavy and run that back through the Big Shot, having it cut a line across those snow caps, and it'll just, whatever that edgelet is, will just cut off the tips of the mountains. I've done that before too, and it works okay. So now I'm just going to take my liquid glue here, and I'm just putting a little bit on each one of those little mountain peaks and just adding the snow that we just cut. Not hard to do. When you're working with that glue, just work a little bit fast. Otherwise, just do one mountain at a time, because it does dry pretty fast. Snail, I didn't use snail because I just felt like the snail would just get everywhere. So now that all my mountain caps are done, now we're ready to do the trees. Now what I'm doing here, excuse me, is trying to see which way the box folds the best if it goes flat. And that's because later we're going to punch some holes in the side, and if I can get the box to lay flat to punch the holes, it makes it easier. So now that I know how it folds, I'm going to gently lay my tree line around the box, and again I'm going to take my bone folder to just rub that in there to burnish that onto the box. Fast fuse would be absolutely awesome to use with this part because it'll really stick well. I just am currently out right now, so I just used a lot of snail, and hopefully that'll stick on there really well. Copying the same thing, just bend my tree line around, and because we die cut that with the popcorn box template first, it just fits like a glove. It just works really nicely to go around there. And then once you have all that done, again, burnish it. Make sure it's really stuck to that snail because we don't want this popping off. Now once you have it all on there, really secure, the next thing that we need to do is we're going to punch a little hole on those sides where the greens don't really meet. So I would get out your Crop-a-dile if you have one. I tried a handheld punch, but there's too many layers that you have to go through to make that work. So here I'm going to fold my box down. Just do it gently, because remember our mountains are on there, so we don't want to ruin those. And then I'm just going to take the smaller of the two holes on the Crop-a-dile and just punch a hole through all those layers. So now I have a hole on opposite sides. Now I'm taking some of my thick vanilla twine and using some scissors to push that through. Sometimes that twine gets a little frayed. And I'm just going to tie a little bow on opposite sides of the box, and that'll accent that box really nicely, just like that. Now I'm going to do the little critters and stuff that go around. In this particular case, I did a bear, a balloon, and then the wooded sign. And I left one side open. I just didn't want to put anything in there, but with it being open, if you'd like to add a happy birthday greeting or congrats or any kind of greeting that you want, use your punch or framelits to put that there. That works too. So I'm just stamping these on a piece of scrap Whisper White, and there are framelits in that same set that will cut out all three of these. And again, the supplies are in the bottom in the description box with all the colors that I chose to use with this project. Here I am just finishing up putting the framelits all on them. I have to admit, when I ran this through, I didn't really check that balloon very well, and so it cut kind of weird, and I didn't really like the way that it cut. So I wasn't going to use it. I was going to cut another one. But here's the box all finished. And here's the s'more trail mix. It's Teddy Grahams, marshmallows, and chocolate chips. Tip about filling the Cello bag is put the bag inside the box first and push it out so it meets all this, make room inside, and then fill it with your treats. That way you don't overfill it. I hope you enjoyed this box. I hope you'll give it a try. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching. I hope you have a great day.